everybody! Brian Forget here, and welcome back. Today we're going to get back into our intro to networking, and we're going to kick that back off with the question, what is ARP? And the quick answer is that ARP is the mapping of an IPv4 address to a MAC address. Let's get into it. ARP is both a protocol and that mapping. The protocol part of it is the ability for some host to request, I've got this probably IPv4 address and I'd like to know the MAC. And then the response as well, though there's certainly other possibilities. The other piece of it is essentially the table that any host is going to keep inside of it, so it doesn't have to constantly ask that. Tiny Brian time. Haha. And I've already got things set up a little bit, right? So in all of our previous videos, right, right, we're talking about the MAC address table. We're talking about these messages getting sent back and forth so far, right? I keep using the example of a ping, right? Your computer's over there and you want to ping my computer over here. Now, for our purposes at the moment, we're going to have them in the same VLAN, the same broadcast domain, and something we'll get into real soon in another video, the same network. And so here's your computer with the pretend MAC address of A and the IP address of 10.0.0.10/24. Come back to that when we get to networking part, or network addresses. And I'm over here at 10.0.0.20/24. Well, when you go to type in that ping command, now let's do it. Ping, what was it? From, imagine 10.0.0.10 over to 10.0.0.20. Ping 10.0.0.20. Well, you're going to type the IP address, not the MAC address. Heck, you couldn't put a MAC address in there even if you wanted to. Now, you might put a name in if you know the host name, the URL, whatever. We're not going to get into that today. That would be DNS. When you put in that IP, though, to send out that ping, well, yeah, it's sending out that ICMP echo request from your address to mine. But like we keep saying, almost certainly you're going to go on Ethernet or Wi-Fi. Either way, you're going to need some MAC addresses, and that's where that ARP thing comes in. So here's what I'm going to pull up. I've got a couple of VMs going for us here. Aha. I guess look a little different. There we go. Okay, so this is that Windows 11 VM we keep playing with pretty regularly. And I've also got a Linux VM set up here as well. I'll just clear things out a little bit. All right, and what I've also got going here is, come on, friend, let me see it. There we go. I've got Wireshark running on that Windows VM to be able to capture the traffic, leaving its little pretend NIC. Let me just start and stop that up again. Sweet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ping from this Windows 11 VM over to this Linux VM. We'll just do a little IP ADDR over here, and we can see the IP address of this Linux system. In this case is 192.168.48.128. /24 again. We're not going to type that in, but I'll go and tell you now, that's the network mask, or a way of writing it. I'm going to come back over here and just ping 192.168.48.128, I think it was, and press enter. And ooh, a few things going on in the background. Now, this is certainly not the only traffic going in and out of there, so I'm just going to narrow it down a little bit for the moment just to see some ARP traffic. And we see these ARP messages here from some MAC address to some other MAC address. Protocol is ARP. Who has, let's see everyone, hang on, there we go. Here it is. Who has 192.168.48.128 tell 192.168.48.130. That's my Windows system over here. And so there's the request going out, and then a reply coming back from their MAC back over to us and says, well, 192.168.48.128 is at that address, that MAC address. So I want to show you one thing real quick back over here on our Windows system. I'm going to do an ARP-A and press enter. And what that's going to let me do over here on Windows is saying, hey, show me all of the ARP table that you know about. I can look in here and see my default gateways, MAC address, or IP and MAC, my own, and anything else I've learned. And you'd see this for each interface card that you've got on there. And that can be really useful so that if you're having communication problems between two different devices, being able to do that ARP-A or space-A will let you look to see the MAC address that you think you know. Especially so if you've got duplicate IP addresses on your network, that can help you narrow down, because then you go log into that other machine that you think should have that IP address, check its MAC, maybe over here on Windows with something like ipconfig-all. And from there, you can check to see your MAC address. On my VM only here, physical address, there you go, listed off. Right, and then if the MAC address your computer has gotten its ARP table doesn't match the MAC address of that host on the other system, probably a duplicate IP because somebody else answered. Having something like Wireshark up as well is really convenient to be able to see those broadcasts go out and who responds back. All right. Oh, and just for kicks, over on that Linux system, ARP-A is going to work over there as well to be able to see, here's my ARP table for this system. We're not getting into it in this one, but a classic switch is almost certainly not going to have all of the hosts in its ARP table. If you are on a classic switch and you checked its ARP table, something like show IP ARP, you would likely only see the MAC and IP address of any management systems that had logged into it. If you're on something that's routing, acting as your router, and you check the ARP table, I would expect you to see the IP and MAC addresses of all the hosts that are using it as a default gateway, though. All right. So that's how this Windows computer, go back over to our pretty drawing. So Windows computer, before it sends out that ping, or a telnet, or SSH, or whatever, whenever it's trying to find the IP address of some other device on its same network, it's going to send out that ARP who has message as a broadcast to everyone inside the broadcast domain. VLAN, right? Anyone in there is going to hear it, and almost everyone's going to ignore it. But if my computer is on that network and you're trying to say who has that address and it's my address, well, I'm going to reply back. I do. Your broadcasted ARP request went from your MAC to the broadcast address, and my reply comes back from my MAC address back to yours, and I answer your question. Ta-da! The ARP protocol. Okay, and then once you've got that, CMP, oh, there we go. Aha. Once you've got that, you're going to be able to then build out that packet, that Ethernet frame with a packet inside of it, with the ICMP protocol payload inside of that, and send it out from your computer's MAC address to mine and IP address to mine. And with that ICMP echo request inside of it. And here's a cool thing in Wireshark, by the way. You can set it up with a diagram to be able to see all that as well. Destination, MAC address, and source. The type, that it's IPv4. The source and destination IPv4 addresses. And inside of that, that it's an ICMP. And we see it's that echo request. I love it, I love it. Here's the whole thing. Ta-da, ARP. And so, yeah, anytime you're trying to find someone else on your network, your computer is going to know to ARP for their address. Now, stuff we'll get a little bit more into later, but I want to go ahead and touch on it now. If you're trying to talk to some device on a different network, well, it's still an Ethernet NIC you're sending it out of. And so, yeah, even if you're trying to talk from your IP address to, gosh, let me just stop this and start it again on a different NIC, to something on a completely different network, well, like we were starting to say, you are still going to have to send it from your IP to theirs, from your MAC to the MAC of someone on your network. Loading it up here. And I'm going to go ahead and ping to 1.1.1.1. Cloudflare's DNS server. All right. And I can see that response. This is on a different NIC here. It has internet access. And it's behind an extra NAT, but whatever. So it's from this Windows 11 VM's other NIC here out to 1.1.1.1. And then from 1.1.1 back to it. But at the MAC address layer, it's going to send it from its MAC address, and the destination is going to be the destination of its default gateway. Yeah, we'll see this more when we get into routing, I think in the next video. But when you're communicating to devices on other networks in IPv4, your host is going to send it from your IP to whatever destination IP address on other networks, and from your MAC to the MAC of your default gateway, because that's just your buddy that's on the same network as you, the same broadcast domain as you. All right, just a quick one today. If you were out last week or a bit of last week on vacation here in the US, welcome back. I hope it was delightful. For everybody else, I'm thankful for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hey, tell somebody about it if you like it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Got any 192.168.10.3s? Go fish.